Well, my grandmother was a member of this church, and she'd been a Nazarene all of her life. On my birthday, she says, if you come up and spend the night with us, they lived behind, they'd moved up behind the First Nazarene Church on 7th Street. She said, if you come up on your birthday, says, I'll cook a meal for you, but you have to go to Sunday school and church. Because they were having a big contest that day on March 5th, 1944. They wanted to have 344 kids in church that day. And they had the picture out in front, and they took our picture out in front of the church. And that's how I first started the straight shooters class was through my grandmother, and she did cook us a good meal, and we enjoyed it so much. While we come back and we enjoyed the meal too, so we could always call Grandma and say, Grandma, can we come over and go to Sunday school in the morning with you? So that's how we got started. That was March the 5th, 1944. Well, we were down at Turner Falls, and at night, every night, they had church services in the little tent right on the river, down there on the Washita River. And we'd sit in the back, and just as soon as it was, they'd start praying. The minute they start praying, why, we'd slip out. And my cousins were from Kentucky, and that's a tobacco state. So we all learned that they taught us to chew tobacco. So we'd slip out of the church, out of the services, and we'd be out there. And it was the darkest night you ever saw. And so we're out there and chewing tobacco and or whatever, and and thinking about what we were going to do next to get in trouble with. And about that time, I felt a hand hit my shoulder. And what are you boys doing out there? Was this big booming voice, and I never will forget that voice. And he had a hold of me and that grip, and I says, nothing. He said, what do you got in your mouth? He says, spit that stuff out, and whatever. Anyway, he had kept me and drugged me back in there, and the rest of them followed. We went back into the church, and he put us down on the front row. Well, that night, I don't know who the guy was preaching. I couldn't tell you who it was, but all I know was I was sitting down there on that front row, and this guy started preaching. And he was preaching to us, and I'll guarantee you, he had us all in hell before that service was over. Every one of us on that front row. So they had the altar call, and before I knew it, well, I was up there. I don't know who went first, but before I knew it, I was up there, and Lawrence was right behind me. I know that. Wherever I was, Lawrence was right behind me. And so we had our little to-do, and we prayed, and I became a Christian, and I became saved, and it was quite a deal. And on June 11th, when we got back, there were 28 of us out of that summer camp that was baptized. But God has blessed us so much, just like He has in everything that we have ever done since I was a straight shooter. My life has been so good, and it all comes from this church and from the people that are in this church. And if you can understand how it is to be a person that was so bad at 11 years old, and at 12 years old, I turned into a wonderful human being. Even people on the street liked me. Before that, nobody liked me but my parents. And it seems to me that today that there is not a human being in Oklahoma City that is not welcome in the OKC First Church.